For those that don't know each of you, I'd like you to do a small introduction, okay, to tell everyone what you do. So, Ebony, let's start with you.
Okay. My name's Ebony Rebecca, and I'm the founder and CEO of Rose Tinted Financial Services. It's a CIC company. And to be honest, that company was literally the vehicle where I found my own voice. When I was really, really struggling with the shame and the guilt of debt. And the only way I could really let it out at the time was through blogs. So yeah, in a real nutshell, that was the start of that 6 years ago for me. Still using it as a vehicle and therapy. So yeah, that's me.
Okay. Sade.
So I'm Sade. I am co-owner and director of Harmony Lets, Harmony Stays, SJ Properties and Meadowvale Retreats. So very busy. I work in property, which is very male dominated. So boy, I need to find my voice. So yeah, I'm enjoying this.
Okay, Amy.
Yeah, I'm Amy, also known as Billabong Sapong on socials. I create TikTok content supporting everyone, women, helping them to really find their voice, linking in with this. And yeah, I'm here today to do this, and I'm excited.
Finally, Sabrina.
Hi guys, I'm Sabrina. I'm a therapeutic counsellor and have my own practice. I predominantly support and work with young people, and I advocate for young people, and that's how I find my voice through helping young people.
Okay, can we give them a round of applause? So thank you so much for giving your time and your expertise in this area. So the first question is, can you share a moment when finding your voice changed something for you at work, at home, or internally? Who wants to go?
Okay, I'll jump in.
Yeah.
So I think for me, for years, I've worked in government-led services until I went self-employed, but in management positions. And throughout my whole career, I've been told that I'm aggressive, I'm emotional. And it was only when I left those businesses and started my own company that I started to really look at what it is to find my voice. For me, especially working in the sector that I work in, which is property, what I really wanted to do was be able to communicate what I wanted without sounding emotional or without it being dismissed because I'm being emotional. So that's kind of where my journey started, and I started to deep dive into my communication style. And then very quickly started to realize that if I adapted the way I communicate, if I regulate my emotions so that I'm actually communicating something that's more factual as opposed to how I feel, I started to get what I wanted for and started to get the result that I wanted. And that for me was, I think, maybe the pinnacle and the turning point. And then in turn, so my business partners, all three of them are all men. So it's been brilliant working with them because they ultimately now have become allies and have helped me to progress in my journey of communication. So for me, that's where the turning point changed, and being able to be in environments where you don't always feel that comfortable or you feel you might get shot down if you have an opinion. Being able to comfortably sit in an environment, say what I want to say, mean what I say, and people actually understand it is, yeah, it's been a godsend, and that transcends across everything, not just business. I utilize that now in everything, talking to my son, friends, family, it's transcended. So it's been a game changer for me, really.
Okay. Do you feel like that's something that you've become familiar with, that you've started to practice? And so like now you're like, actually, you know what?
Correct. Absolutely. Because it's a muscle. You've got to work that muscle and keep training it until it becomes the norm. And that's what it's been. It's so initially you maybe would ask for something in a certain way, and then you get that uncomfortable feeling because you're thinking, should I be asking for that? Is that okay? Until it becomes more comfortable. And then it's like, that's what I'm asking for, and I'm getting it. And there's no uncomfortability. I'll sit in that awkward silence until somebody comes around and gives the response that they need. So it's it is now become the norm, and it's empowering. It's empowering to be able to be in a room with anyone and feel as though that you're heard. That for me was the biggest thing, is being heard and understood. So yeah.
Love that. Okay. Anyone's feeling like they want to jump in there?
Yeah, so, oh, sorry.
No, carry on.
So like I mentioned previously, being an advocate for young people has helped me have my voice, find my voice, because my voice was taken when I was bullied at school. So it's been a lifelong journey of getting that voice back and finding that when I advocate for young people, I can represent them and have a very strong voice with that. I think also as a therapist, you know, doing the training, first and foremost, you have to know who you are before you can sit and help another person and support another person. So I think doing my training also helped me to find my voice, because who am I? Before I sit down and counsel you, who am I? What's mine? What's yours? I need to know the difference. So my internal dialogue, how I speak to myself, what I say to myself, you know, I have to be in alignment with myself before I can even enter even spaces like this.
Yeah.
So, you know, finding my voice has been pivotal to who I am as a therapist, as a woman, as, you know, a human being. It's, you know, been a journey, and it's not an easy journey, especially when it's been taken from you. It's not an easy journey, but the more you do it, the more you go into those spaces, the more you sit down with your heart racing on a podcast, you find your voice, and you build that confidence.
Has that helped you recognize when someone enters a room, you can kind of like go, you know what, this person, their voice is lost. Like it helps you then navigate a conversation.
You can feel it as well, and you know that in the work that you do, like it's not just seen, it's felt, it's experienced.
Yeah.
And again, as part of my practice as a therapist, having to be in tune with myself to know, okay, these butterflies in my stomach, are they mine or are they yours?
Yeah.
And if I cannot, when I identify that helps me to show up more for that person as well. So awful.
Amy?
Yeah, I was just going to say, in terms of me finding my voice, because day to day I work in finance. So, of course, being in finance, you have to be quite out there, you have to make decisions. And I was somebody that was quite shy. So I was put in an environment where I was no longer able to be shy, and I had to speak and own things, own journeys, do things. So I think it really stemmed from there, finding my voice. And then I started therapy like 8 years ago. And then I really started to get in tune and in line with myself. And I was like, oh, wow, actually, there's a different way of handling things and dealing with situations, speaking to people, like knowing how to speak to somebody is something that I've picked up on as well. And I think that's what led me to start doing the content creating. And then just recently in December, I did my life coach certification, because I was like, well, if I've learnt this just from doing therapy, and I've been able to completely change the way I see things, how I communicate, and really find my voice, then I really want to help with this.
Love that, and congratulations on
Thanks
that.
very much. Thank you.
Ebony, you know, I'm going to probe you, Emily. I'm going to probe you. Because I know quite recently, like, you know, you've become not a new mom, but you're a mom again. Do you know what I mean? 9 years later. So, yeah, I'm thinking that voice sometimes changes as well, right?
Massively. And I think something you just said just made me think of a conversation that I have with my bestie quite a lot about, you know, like the default. You go back to your default quite a lot. But as you said, like since having my son and being like a lot older, and him being a very happy surprise, you know, you have to navigate just so many changes within like your day-to-day life. Even just when I had my first child, being not only younger, but being so anxious, being so unsure about myself. It's been such a nicer journey having my son now. I feel like even I take that in so differently. And I think for people who are here listening, I think it's so important, I think you alluded to it as well, to kind of stop and think about actually, am I just acting out of what I always do here? How present am I like Sheila, just making us take a breath?
Yeah.
You know, because I think a lot of the time we're just on rote, aren't we? Like even just your routine home. And so yeah, I think for me, like when I'm with my son now, I'm like trying to look in his eyes and try to, you know, and then when I'm with him, and then when I'm on my laptop or I'm on my phone, trying to just be involved in them fully. I know it's not easy to do, but I'm definitely trying to do it differently this time. But it is difficult when you're balancing more as well. But that time of reflection, I think, helps.
That's the thing, though, isn't it? Because I think that process is like constant growth. And I think there's this belief, isn't there? It's like you identify that something needs to change and then you change it. And then you're like, that's it. I'm here.
I'm
I've
done.
made it. But it's not that, because the growth is forever. It continues. You have to revisit. You have to go back. You have to adjust. And it's that process that I think, but I love that. I love identifying, even at the age I am now, I love identifying new things or new ways of doing. Do you know what? Actually, I think that may have worked for me 3 years ago, but actually the person that I am now doesn't actually fit. So then and I think that's really important. I think for all of us, especially as women, is that we're kind to ourselves in that way. That we're forever evolving, we're forever changing, and it's okay. We're allowed to do that and adjust it and change it and move it on this, on this road that we're on. So,
And I think added to that as well, it's for us to understand and accept and believe we change and move. Everybody changes and moves, but sometimes people don't move with you.
correct.
So they address you or they treat you or they come at you when you were that person 3 years ago, and then it's taking them on your journey to catch them up. Like, okay, babes, I'm here.
Yeah.
So let's be here, not there.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of the journey as well, an underestimated part of the journey, I think, because people can also take you back. You know, when you're like, you're going to draw me out.
Right?
Like,
Yes.
as the
where
5
that
years,
muscle
the 5
comes in,
years
yeah.
ago me would be handling this very differently.
Correct.
So it's being aware of that as well and celebrating that growth.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely.
This leads on to the next question, which I think is really powerful. Like, in your experience, how does language shape power? Who gets heard? Who gets dismissed? And why?
That is so deep.
That's a really good question. I think the way I see it is I've noticed that, say you're in a room and people are having a conversation, the louder people have got so much to say, but then when you speak, let the quieter people speak, they've got more value in what they're saying than the louder people in the room.
Yeah.
So I think sometimes it's finding that balance, but that's what I think in terms of that.
Yeah.
I completely agree. That for me, and that was something that I had to learn about myself.
Yeah.
That was a bit of a mask for me. So I'm quite a loud. I don't need the microphone for my laugh. If I stood here and laughed, it would go. It's huge, right? So, but that was my thing, loud, bubbly, and all the rest of it. And it was a way of being able to not have to deal with feelings, emotion, and all that sort of thing. But then what I really understood about myself is actually when I'm sat in silence, that's where my most profound thoughts and opinions and come from. And so that's been a huge practice for me, is actually you don't always have to be the loudest in the room.
Yeah.
You just have to be the clearest.
Absolutely.
And that's the trick to it. And it doesn't always take a lot of words. Sometimes it is just as simple as making it clear, stepping back and leaving it to the rest. So, but yeah, I was that person.
And it's not always going to land well with some people.
Correct.
Depending on what you say. Like sometimes you'll say something like, as using myself as an example, some of the things that I post online for content.
Correct.
Like I'll have women messaging me like, no, men are like this. I don't agree with that. And then I have to take what they've said, understand what they've said, and then speak to them in a way, adapt to my language in a way for them to see it from a different perspective. And they're like, oh, I get it. You've got a point there. So your language is really important because you can have someone screaming and shouting, but if you just know how to speak to that person, you've got to kind of change your way of speaking.
Absolutely.
When you speak to different people. And I think that's a real skill, trying to adapt how to speak to somebody depending on their communication style.
Especially when you get older.
Yeah.
You just don't have time.
Tolerance.
You just left the light.
And
Patience goes.
And I think, you know what I thought of as I've just started a new business, and it's in a very new space. So I think when you are starting something new and you don't necessarily know the language of that sector, or you know, you feel very, I remember it when I started in teaching, and it's a very kind of, I don't know, like hierarchical kind of like environment. So you can feel really, really uncomfortable. But I think you have to press in, take that time as well, I suppose, to do the work, to sort of study, but recognize that you can still show up as well. I think we're in that era of like, you know, you mentioned it, like we almost don't want to grow. We want to show up ready and sort of polished, and it's all about aesthetic. But the reality is we're always on an ongoing journey. So I think if you're somewhere and you don't feel like you fit the language, it's about just showing up anyway.
Absolutely. That can be the difficult part though sometimes, isn't it? It's because, like you said, it's such a valid point. You want to be polished, and I think that's the bit that you've got to get rid of. You want to always show up as your best version, your best self, and it isn't always that. And it's just being comfortable as to where you're at, because you will get there. If it's something that you desire, you want, you will get to that point that you want to, but it's just being comfortable in the space that you're in that moment.
So I'm wondering, Sade, because you said that you're in, you know, a pretty much male dominant environment, that, you know, you might have to change up the way you're speaking, right? Because I think men, they can be quite brutal. They take the emotion out of a conversation. Do you know what I mean? Like, so.
Do you know what? Like I said, the last 7 years I've been self-employed, 4 years that I've been working with my business partners. And I've learned so much from them, and equally they've learned so much from me. One of the kind of major things and that I'd obviously heard was that you can be emotional. So what I started to do, I'm not going to lie, I can, okay? However, so when I used to hear it, I took it as I was offended by it, because I felt it was a way of shutting me down, invalidating what I was saying. But then when I started to actually really look into myself, so I thought I can keep saying, right, it's them, they're the problem, or I can actually look at myself and say, what can you do differently? So when I started to do that, I noticed, like we said earlier, language was a real thing. Rather than saying things like, I feel like this, I was using words more like, okay, so if we was to look at it like this, what do we think could be a different outcome? So I started to change that language. And in turn, but I spoke really openly with my business partners and kind of said, look, listen, I'm a female. I can be emotional, but as men, you can also be emotional. But what I do want to say is this. I think as women, our emotion is our superpower. Right? Because you know what emotion is? It's insight, it's gut feeling, it's instinct, it's foresight, it's all those things. So I want to be emotional because actually some of those emotions have led me to some of the best deals that I've made, because I saw something way before my business partners did. Or we've had a deal on the table and they've gone, let's go for it. And I said, I don't like this. My spirit and attack to it. When I like it, and there's something about it I don't like. That's based on my feelings. And I've been right. And they've turned around and gone, we did. Yes, that's right. So I don't think we should be trying to not be emotional or I think it's important that we are. And it's just about finding the balance to merge them together. Yes, the emotion's brilliant, but also having the insight to be logical and also be able to translate your emotion into words that people understand.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, agree.
Love it.
Before you jump onto the next one, can I share? So we talk about language being spoken, but language is also non-verbal. So for me, power in language isn't always verbal. So I think it's 55% of our communication is body language. And then I think 38% is tone and 7% is your actual words. So again, from a therapist perspective, presence is everything. When you're building a therapeutic relationship with a client, it's about the relationship. That's at the core to any therapy. You can't have therapy if you don't have a relationship with the therapist and the client. And part of that is, first and foremost, you show up as yourself. You're just present. Like just having a presence is language you mentioned earlier. You don't always have to be that loud person in the room. Being the quiet one actually gives you power. And to share about, when I was doing my training, there was a situation that took place on my course, and kind of it was a racial situation between me and another peer, and the majority of the class kind of took that person's side, and I chose silence. And part of that was because I was processing and needed to figure it out. But in my silence was my power, because people didn't know how I felt. People didn't know what I was thinking. People didn't know what I've got in my pocket. And they wanted to know that. And in wanting to know that gave me power. So I've come to really align myself with presence as language and silence, again, as a therapist, sometimes just letting something hang in the air. That communication, that revelation, that understanding takes place.
Yeah.
You did make me think, though, my husband's right then. 38% tone. But it's not just what you say. There's actual scientific facts there.
And growing.
Yeah.
That's it.
They love the facts, don't they?
Yeah.
I love the non-verbal in the classroom, and I'm with, with students and they're doing something, and just like, and they're like, oh my God.
It's alarming.
Yes. Power in silence. I love it. Okay. So what gets in the way of emotional literacy for adults, particularly in professional environments? That's a good one. Ooh. We get into the nitty gritty.
Yes, it's
Time.
Time.
Massive.
If you're in big corporate environments, particularly, you mentioned schools, when you've got 30 children in front of you and you've got a curriculum there, and it's so difficult to do. But I think I studied psychology before I was a teacher, and I think that really, really helped, because as you spoke about, I always found, they always used to say to me, Ebony, how do you get him to stay in your lesson? Like, I always just seem to have the bad lads. I love them. I love them. And I think it's because deep down I'm a bit of a bad girl. But it was because, literally I would have teachers come in and walk in and, you're sitting in there. But it's because if you treat people according to just almost how you want to be treated, talk to people in a certain way, or, even recognizing that someone might have a difficulty. I mean, I was a maths teacher, in a subject, and it's like, actually, you might not want to be here, but it's kind of like, we need to do this. So I think it's in everything that you do, it's trying to weave emotional literacy in with what you do. And I think, like you said, I think as a woman, I think we do it better.
I agree.
So I think it's a natural gift that we have. But I think it's tapping into it. So I can also remember days when you are just in your work mode and you do get into conflict with people. But I think if we can make it be 50-50, I know it's not always possible, but it really has, I can see how that has got me, really further ahead in environments where, you'd expect to struggle. And
because it's so complex, it's such a layered thing, emotional literacy. It's so complex, so it's hard to kind of pinpoint. And like say, when you're trying to juggle just life as well with it. I most recently had a conversation with my business partners. It was the first meeting back after New Year's. I thought, right, I'm just drained. And it was just more so not just with the work, it was just everything that was going on, the constant conversations and different opinions and all those sort of things. So before I went into the meeting with the rest of the directors, I just thought, right, what is it that I want to tell them and them to hear? And what do I want to change? And I was just really honest with them and said, look, I don't think you guys recognise as men, love you to death, but as men in this room, that the emotional weight that's on me every time I enter a room, because I'm expected, without it being said, to regulate the emotions in the room, to sort out kinks within the group. Nobody's put that on me. So I kind of accepted it because that's what we're used to doing. But I didn't identify that's what I was actually doing, and that's what was draining me. And just was really honest and said, sometimes, guys, you don't communicate effectively. So you talk about things and then we have the conversation about 10 more times. And it's because we didn't speak about it properly the first time. And it's draining. I'm finding it exhausting having to manage everyone's kind of things in this situation. And it wasn't that anyone was doing anything wrong. It's just, it's a real thing to have to be aware of, and your emotional literacy and balancing everything all the time, especially when you're having to do it for everybody else as well as yourself. So I think sometimes just having that awareness that is happening and being able to say, look, I actually can't manage this right now that you guys are doing. So I'm going to leave you lot to have your conversation and then I'll put, because it can be a massive challenge.
Absolutely.
And just off the back of what you said in terms of you're expected to regulate everyone's emotions, that's absolutely who I am in my team. At work. It's like they'll have me in a meeting because they're like, Amy, we know that you can get everyone involved, everyone feels comfortable. I'm like, that's too much.
Yeah.
It is sometimes.
This is a lot.
Yeah.
So I think sometimes just stepping back and saying, you know what?
Yeah.
I can't attend this meeting. I can't be the person to regulate everyone this time round. That's something that it's important to
Massively.
step back because it's too much.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that it's noticed, isn't it? Yeah. And not sort of valued massively highly, but it's been noticed.
Yeah.
Like,
It's noticed and not labelled though, isn't it? Because
Yeah.
it's not really a thing. Like you don't put that on your job description, do you? Or like on your CV, like, oh yes, I'm an emotional regulator. Like, but
It is a thing.
Yeah.
it is expected.
Yeah.
And I think as well another kind of element is oh my gosh, my mind's just gone blank.
Yeah, I do that a lot.
yes.
Deep breath. What I was going to say, one of the buzzwords that's been coming up at quite a lot of the corporate events that I'm going to is psychological safety, you know, and I think emotional literacy is really important.
Yeah.
And that's probably why you got that student staying in the room. It's probably why people respect what you're saying, because if we can put psychological safety in the workspace, you know, we're going to have a more productive, space. Everyone's going to be happy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know,
That leads nicely to what I was going to say. I remember that. The thing is, if we're all talking like we all know what it is we're talking about. And what I was going to say is emotional literacy is also about the examples that we've had. So if you don't know how to regulate, if you've never been taught how to regulate or what psychological safety is, you're just out here. And so I think an element to emotional literacy is I'm always going to be about understanding yourself. The most important relationship you're ever going to have is with yourself. So you've got to know yourself. But also it's examples of our parents, of our carers, of our teachers, of our managers, those people around us, even our peers. Have they taught us emotional literacy? Because what exactly does emotional literacy mean? We're having this conversation, but we've not, like, we know it, we understand it, but actually there could be somebody listening and they're like, what's emotional literacy?
Yeah.
So it's that assumption also that, well, you should know that, but if it's never been taught or there's never been the example, that's also going to be an element.
Definitely.
Yes, that's true.
I can see it in my kids, actually. It's like, you know, the eldest has just got a lack of, but clearly I've grown with emotional literacy. So my youngest is just so articulated.
Love that.
Mommy, you really hurt my feelings.
Love that. Love that.
Just had to drop that in.
Yeah.
You know, it does fun.
Good stuff.
Right. So what does meaningful allyship look like in practice? Not intention, but action.
So obviously I've spoken already about my dynamic. So I work with 3 really brilliant, competent businessmen, phenomenal guys, not just in business, but as people, brilliant men. And the way and I think unbeknowingly, I don't think they've even known that that's what they've been doing. But the way that our dynamic started with the business is I'd gone on to kind of help them with something that they wanted within their business. And through kind of conversations, immediately they were like, that you're something we need in our business. That's the part that's missing. That for me was just massive, especially in the sector that we work in, for them to immediately see my value and be like, we need you, we can't carry on without you, bring me in. And then, like I said, without them even knowing, just the support of, because it is, you're constantly having to go up against quite strong characters, you know, with, you know, strong opinions. They always leave me to lead on meetings. They don't ever feel the need to step in or say what Sade's trying to say or anything like that to strengthen my voice. They sit behind me and they say, that's what she's saying.
Wow.
It's really clear. And it's so powerful. It is so powerful because we don't need to be spoken for or be told how to say things. We need them to be sat beside us, supporting what we're saying and just being there, and that's been huge, absolutely huge. So I've been really fortunate in that case, because I've experienced having some fantastic allies. But it's helped me to be able to build my knowledge. It's given me the space to be able to build a lot faster than I probably would have because of the lacking as well. So it's invaluable, quite frankly. We need you.
I think for me, meaningful allyship is absolutely that, but it's also what people are doing in rooms that I'm not in.
Yeah.
Are they speaking up
Yes.
for us?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
showing up? Like, what are
Yeah.
you saying? Like, so when you hear conversation, like, oh, so and so mentioned this about you.
Yeah.
Like, they were like this, and you're like, oh, me?
Yeah.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's about. It's more so what people are saying out in rooms that I'm not in, because
Yeah.
a lot of people can be, oh, you're so great, and do all of that to your face, but then behind your back, sometimes you're hearing some little sly remarks, and you're like, what? But they're like this to me in my face. So yeah, definitely,
And added to that, the ally is going to shut that down.
absolutely,
So
exactly.
if something
It will
said
shut
about
it down straight away.
in a room, yeah, don't do that.
Yeah.
We're not going to we're not having that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, I was going to say the same thing as well.
Yeah.
I was thinking, I think it's my financial head as well. I was thinking financial backing. I think it's good for people to put their money where their mouth is. As you said, like the compliments are great, but they don't pay bills.
Exactly.
So it's like, and that, I think that's men and women alike. Like I said, I think it's just thinking about I'm doing a big event in April, and I think people are just like, oh my gosh, that's so amazing. But actually, if you genuinely believe in it, then put your money where your mouth is and support it. And I think that's something that even myself, I want to live by more. I think even just like what we put our money and time into as the most valuable resource, we value. So we should be putting that energy in, because you can just give lip surface to sort of. But yeah, I want to see more, like the figures are something 2% for women, and I think for women of colour it's 0.4. Like I want to see policy transformational change. Like right now it's 2026, so if there's anyone out here with power, I think it's really important. Get us on boards. Instead of doing events that are tailored to women and not having them on the boards directing the vision and then bringing us in sort of 3/4 in, like I don't know, like, do you know what I mean? Like
absolutely.
It's really time for the shift to happen.
Absolutely.
And I think off the back of that as well, I was going to say off what you said earlier, Sade, about opportunities. Allies create opportunities.
Absolutely.
They do.
Yeah. Right. So we're coming to that time where we are going to, if someone wants to get the mic for me, Selena, if someone wants to get the mic, and then we will open up the floor to see if anyone has any questions for the panelists. You are welcome. And I think we should go off that last question. If there is anyone in the room that, has the space, has the financial backing, where people can approach them, now is the opportunity really for you to share that. We'd love to hear from you.
Just a message for young girls, because I know this is gonna go online and on social media, and I feel like we do speak a lot about our experiences, but what advice can we actually give for people watching?
I would say, so for me, my son is 23. So I had my son when I was 17. Flipped everything completely upside down. Wasn't the plan. Blessing, love of my life, but it changed everything for me. And I wasn't really sure how life was going to go once I gave birth to my son. I just knew it had to go. And for years and years, I was just kind of surviving, doing what I needed to do to get through. And that was my mantra. Just on to the next one. I always use the analogy, the game, The Floor is Lava.
Yeah.
I used to play when I was younger, right? So you'd be on the sofa and then you're looking for the next object to jump to, and you're absolutely terrified. If you touch the floor, you're going to burn to death. Like that fear is there. It feels that real. That was the analogy that I used for my life. It was just jumping from one thing to the next, to the next. It took for me to kind of just learn a lot about myself, lose money, relationships break down, just go through all these kind of scenarios that, should knock you back and should absolutely kind of put you on your bum. But the one thing I had within me was always a self-belief that there was always more. I knew there was something else. I didn't know what it was, but I knew there was something. And that, I think, started with actually really trying to learn who I was, what I loved about myself, the things that were really beautiful and positive about me that made me me. And equally, the things that I didn't necessarily enjoy about myself, and how I fixed those things. And once I really just made it all about me, selfish as it sounds, it's not selfish because it's necessary, but really made everything about me, of who I want to be, what type of mother I want to be. That's when things started to massively change. And kind of fast forward now to where I'm at. So a couple of years ago, I don't know if you've seen the show, but there's a show called Hunted on Channel 4. So me and my son applied for the show, and we won the show. You won, right? And that was thank you. And that was 3 years ago. But it was, the reason I kind of bring that up is because the premise of the show is you've got to go on the run from the police, right? The police are chasing you, and you've got to evade them for 21 days. And what I learned is I was really good at that because it's surviving. Because I'd spent my whole life just surviving, right? And it sounds very cliche and corny, but at the end of that show, I had to climb this 1,500 vertical climb, a mountain, to get to the top, to get to this helicopter. And I think in that moment, I was like, this is my life summed up. This is what it's been. It's been this climb. It's been this climb, falling down, being tired, being exhausted, picking myself back up. When I got to the top, it was like, this is what I've been trying to do. And I think that's something that for everyone, it is so important. Whatever the journey is, whatever the goal is, whatever it is that you're trying to achieve, it starts with being really honest with yourself first and identifying who it is that you want to be. And then just working towards that. And I promise you, if you focus on that, everything else just starts to fall into line. Because ultimately the purpose is happiness, right? Happiness, peace. So yeah, that's what I'd say. Just keep it about being the best version of you you can be, and things just start to appear. Situations, people just start to fall into line with you. So yeah, just keep climbing.
I think I'd say,
Love that.
in terms of young people and women and men, I think because I do mentoring at work, so there's people that are quite quiet, that don't have people to speak to and are quite in their shells. So I would say personally, in terms of the young people, to find somebody that you can speak to, whether it's someone you at school with, at college with, somebody at church, somebody, an actual mentor, just finding somebody that you can really confide in them and share how you're feeling. And that can be really helpful in terms of you moving forward and growing. I mean, my mom's in the audience, and my mom, she's getting embarrassed now, but she's been a mentor for so many youth who literally tell her their life story and go to her for advice, and she's always been that person. So I'd say just find somebody that you can speak to and that can really help you in terms of finding your voice, building your confidence.
I love that. I think I'm going to add, I think based off my own experience of being homeless by the age of 15, sexually abused in domestic violent relationships, I think only in my 40s did I really realize that I started thriving and start living. Well, up until then, I was trauma driven. And I think the only way that I found my voice was by finding a way of externalizing what I was internalizing. So I think connecting with your inner voice and really just saying, is this, someone who is governed by trauma, or is this, divinely guided? Because I feel like when we really can take time to be still, we can connect in a divine space. And life is just full of, I give thanks really for every moment that I'm alive now, compared to how I've spent probably my early 40 years of doing that. So, that would be my advice, Kimberly.
Love that. Love that.
And have I got time? I'm so sorry. Yeah, because again, I reflect back to when I was sort of like 18, 19. I think you pick a lot up from your environment, and you can feel quite powerless. And it's about trying to again, like I know I love the stuff and think thing, but it's such a real thing. Like, are some of the habits that I'm doing, are they me? Like, you know, and I think I could have saved myself a lot of heartache. I think, you know, you mentioned relationships. I think we try and find sometimes ourselves in all the wrong places.
Yeah.
Gossip.
Amen. Trying to get over.
But no, we do. We really, really do. And I think, you know, having a daughter, like I'm going to be sitting her down and sort of just, it's really trying to go on that journey from earlier on. I think we could save ourselves so much heartache. And you spoke about getting help and support. If you don't feel confident and comfortable in your immediate environment, because again, sometimes they're perpetuating some of the behavior that you don't want to see. Organizations exist. There's a lot more things out there now. I mean, even online, like that you can tap into, but don't sit there. For example, smoking was one with me, you know, putting all your effort and energy into that, knowing that you don't necessarily want to do it, but because your friends are doing it, just sticking in that, you know, dare to be the pioneer, the person that is different, you know? Yeah. I think you spend a lot of your teenage years trying to fit in, and you go from your 20s going, you know what, how do I stand out and how am I me? So do it earlier, please. I'm really passionate about that.
Love that.
Anybody else before I... Do you want to...
Everybody said everything. I feel like everybody's read my mind. Said what I was going to say. But, you know, again, as a therapist, I say, you know, seek help, get support. It's okay not to be okay.
Yes.
And in those lowest moments when you can't pick yourself up, there's that mentor, there's that person that can help you. So it's find that ally, find that person who you feel safe with, that psychological safety, and connect.
From everything you've just said, I'd bring it together and say, what the beats that are coming out is authenticity.
Yes.
That's one thing. It's you all talk about finding yourself, being your true self. And when you are authentic, you are just being who you are. And when I'm in rooms, sometimes I'm in these rooms where I will just drop a little patois, even though they might not get it, put me in a business. But then at the same time, I might drop a bit of black country. Do you know what I mean? Because I'm bilingual. You get what I'm saying? Be your authentic self.
Yeah, absolutely.
Another beat that is coming from this is representation really matters.
Right.
You being up here, everybody doing what they do to the best of their ability, that is what inspires the young people. They see it, they believe it, they feast off it, and they're like, wow. I remember watching the TV and not seeing that many black people. Then when I saw a black person, I said, yes, I can be a black person on telly. You get me? So representation matters.
Absolutely.
Even though my voice is gone, you can hear what I'm saying. Thank you. We have one more question. And I think because we started late, we're going to have the last question and move on to the next panel. Is that all right?
Yeah.
So one more question. Would you like to come up for me? Thank you.
Hi. Hello, panel. I just wanted to, I think probably I should really introduce myself. So my name is Dee, and I'm actually the newly appointed governor for the NHS. So my area is Birmingham and Central West. However, not only that, I also run a not-for-profit. So I also teach in schools. I've also got a class running around with kids wanting pick up and cuddles and all that sort of stuff. Right, nothing's changed because I was that before I became that. So for me, it's still the same day every day. Lots of what you said kind of really, really hit home, hit quite hard in terms of your journeys, parenting. So I've got a daughter. I was a single mom. She's 29 now, right? So done all that, try to navigate that system, being a mom and trying to maintain a sense of sanity, trying to still remain presentable and all the challenges that you have trying to navigate and all of that. But what's interesting is what I'm trying to understand from you ladies now is, number one, what's happening with community? Where do you see the future of community? That's number one. And also, how are we going to productively and efficiently and sustainably link in community to health outcomes as well. So community is everything. Community's relationships. It's the next door neighbour. It's everybody that's sitting in this room. It's the police. It's the it's the trees, the dog. It doesn't matter, the environment. And my concerns right now, especially being the governor as well, that I'm thinking to myself, well, hold on a second, there's like a mirage and an endless kind of stream of things that need change and all things that we need to do. How are we going to move forward ourselves? What can we as moms, as grandmas, cousins, sisters, I don't care, phrase, what can we do? How can we build our own communities? Because you're going to need to. So these are the questions that I'm really wanting to understand from you, and how much of authenticity, how authentic are we really? How authentic are we really in the workplace? Do you understand where I'm coming from? I want to kind of address the elephant in the room. I want to kind of move the curve, move what we're saying, and really talk about what we really want to talk about as well.
I think it's really interesting what you said about authenticity, because I had this conversation at work and there was a question where they were like, oh, do you feel like you can be your authentic self? And I said, no. They were like, what do you mean, no? I said, because if I was my authentic self, it's going to look very different in the workplace compared to how I am outside of work. So my answer to that is, I don't feel like I can be my authentic self in the workplace, in professional places. I have to code switch. It's instilled in me automatically to code switch. So wherever I am, whatever I'm doing, I have to. Because I can't just be like anyhow, because already I'm perceived as aggressive for being a woman of colour. So I have to. I think in terms of our communities as well, I went to another event yesterday that was about International Women's Day. And there was a lot of talk in terms of what are we going to do for our community, and there's no more youth clubs, there's no more this, there's no more that. And I thought, you know what, it's actually true. I think particularly in Wolverhampton, there's not much anymore. I only know about the one youth club that is there. You'll have the older generation that go to the heritage and have a one dance, and then they're together that time. But I don't think we have enough events like this. I think we need to have more things where we're coming together, where I really love the questions that you said, because it's so true in an environment where we're completely honest. I could have lied and said, oh yeah, I feel like my authentic self. No, I don't. But I had to be honest. So I think it's more coming together, more community, more bringing people together from all different backgrounds, understanding each other, and a sense of wanting to learn about the different people and different cultures as well. So that's my take on it. Great.
And I think adding on to that, I know we need to wrap up, but I think having spaces in communities where we can be authentic, creating those spaces that are safe to be our authentic selves. And also what you mentioned earlier about having the right people backing us, because the youth centres are closing down. So where do young people go?
There's no capital to do this.
So we need to be putting our money where our mouth is, and in that making sure those spaces, because we know those youth spaces are paramount to our community. The young people are our future. So you see the mama bearing me now, we talk about young people, so that's my voice coming up. We need to have those safe spaces where young people can learn who they are, find their voice, their authenticity, their creativity, and that'll then invest in our future.
Can I just say quickly as well, because I think it's relevant. So being in a position now where I can influence certain things. So the business we have, we're heavy on ensuring, not all, but we have a lot of people of colour that we employ, that work for us, that people that wouldn't necessarily be able to walk in our type of business and find the jobs. We are creating those spaces. I think it is about actively, like we've all said, we have to do it ourselves. Up until now, nobody's done it for us. So we have to do it ourselves. We've got to create those spaces. We've got to have more of these sort of things where we're connecting, we're talking and we're being honest. And to the kind of authenticity thing, I'd never been able to be my authentic self up until I got my own business. And now, I say what I want to say. God damn it. So, but it's freeing, and it's but we've got to create those spaces, and that's what it comes down to.
And again, it's that, I'm reiterating the point, it's the time and financial resources we put in, because and that's where it's that intentionality with what we're getting in and what we're doing with it. Because as you said, I mean, the young people of today, the cost of living right now is crazy. So we really do need to start thinking about these things. I agree, paves the way for that. But right, I'm going to stop, because I know that we need to.
We could talk about it all
We could
day.
go on really good. Yeah.
We've all held our tongue in
Yeah.
response to this question because of time.
Yeah.
It's a big thing.